I thought it went really well. I liked that a lot of people added in their own personal experience, so it wasn't just sticking to the text that they had. One small concern that we had before we started this is that sometimes we make the groups by level, and sometimes we make a mixed group. And today they were grouped by the children's age. So for example, in this group you had one or two very low learners grouped with very, very high learners. And sometimes you tend to lose somebody or either go too slow or too fast. But in this case, it worked out really well. We actually helped. We had some translators, so everybody stayed on the same track.
Yeah, and we had at this table, I was mostly concerned about what was happening with this group because this is the table that had the least amount of material. And we also had a new tutor working with this group, and so I was a little concerned. We kind of threw her into the deep end, yeah. But she did a great job.
She did a really good job.
So although I was a little bit concerned that they, like Ani said, that we might lose a couple of those lower level people, that this is pretty sophisticated material. I think she was able to communicate that the idea for the lesson was for them to think about some things to have in the house for their children, and that some ways that they may be able to work with their kids who are probably at higher reading levels than they are, or definitely higher reading levels. And so I think it went a little better than I thought it might, which I was glad about. And then I think generally the pace seemed to go well.
Yeah. One thing that we had planned for was that at the end of class, and we always leave some room for, if we go over or if we finish the material before, because today we actually planned on going up front, and each group was going to present their posters. We ran out of time, so each group gave some examples. And tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have more time and they can present the posters.
Right, because we will do this very similar activity tomorrow, but everybody will be at a different table with different books and different reading level considerations. So they'll have a chance to see that there's a progression, and also just to start to think about what they can have in their house for their different age kids, what books they'll get at the library to make sure that they have at home. I do tend to we were having so much fun that I really have to sometimes remember that we're on the clock, because I do get really involved, and this group just had a lot of really good things to say.
I think in this class, tutors are essential. Well, first of all the tutors are either graduate or undergraduate students at Boston University who have work study.
Yeah, and it's paid, it's a job.
Yeah. And for this class, tutors play such an important role, because if we didn't have the small groups, the class wouldn't be able to work the way it does. And as much as we try to get a lot of communication out as a big group, most of the engagement happens in small group activities. So in that case, we're very lucky, and our tutors are great.
We're very lucky. We have a great group of tutors. Some of them have worked with the program before, so they're experienced. This table had a new one, but boy, she was good today. Yeah. She was great.
Some people just jump.
And then every Wednesday night, the whole group comes together in seminar. So there is a training component for the tutors, where we talk about literacy in general, because a lot of them are not education majors. They come from all over the university, so they come from lots of different backgrounds, and so they do need some guidance. But generally they just relate so well with the learners, and I think just having like Ani said, just to be able to do these small groups, I just don't think we could do all the things that we do without being able to use the tutors and be in small groups.
Yeah, it's in the small groups, everybody participates. So even if you have somebody who's really, really shy or reserved, they will participate in a small group in their own way, which you probably couldn't get in a larger group. We have 12 weeks, and each week has its own lesson plan. If it's something that needs a little more time, then we'll do a 2-week period. And we come up with our own lesson plans. We ask the learners what they would like to learn about. Usually, we start the week, we introduce the lesson, and we end it on a Thursday with library time. Each Thursday, the tutors and the learners and the teachers get together here, and they have a chance to look through books and check out books.
Going to a parent conference.
Community, parent involvement, parent conference. Robert Munch was such a fun lesson. We read Robert Munch books, and they're just so much fun. We did elections. 100 Dresses was a novel, and we read that chapter book. Yeah, we read it together. Children's poetry and adult poetry, and then we had Thanksgiving and child safety. I don't know if
we cover literacy topics, and then we also have adult interest topics. So there's a variety of areas that are covered. So this would be considered literacy, and then if we do later on in the semester, we'll be doing domestic violence, for example. So that would be considered adult interest, where we would find some materials to read, and we would have discussions, and so all the literacy activity would be based around that area of interest.
Writing, I think it's more on an individual level because it depends on the skills of each learner. So some people will write more than others. Others need more time to write as much, but the class is generally focused on speaking, listening, and reading. And writing in that order.
But they do have a lot of opportunities to write. Every day there's some component of reading, and that's worked into the lesson plan, that there will be a reading component with the article or the book that we read together. And then they're listening, obviously, there's a lot of listening in both full group and small group. And then speaking, we do try to get everybody to have some speaking opportunities in the small groups usually. And then writing, they dialogue journal, they have their literacy log. So they are doing all four. But yeah, I think you're right about the breakdown.
And the dialogue journal is it's once a week. What we do is group a learner with a tutor or a teacher, and they have a conversation on paper. And you can talk about anything you'd like. And one day the learners write, and then the tutors write back, and this is only on paper. Most of our learners have been here for a year, semester, maybe a couple of years. This program is open for as long as they feel they need to stay. Most of us have been with us for a while. Most of the learners.
Yeah, many of them have.
But we also have attendance is always an issue, especially because jobs. They're not always able to come in the morning. So we have a lot of new people coming in as people drop out. But I'd say the majority have been here a while.
Yeah, there's a core group that just is very, very regular and loyal, and obviously they're the ones who are really progressing well.
I think every lesson is tied in with their children in some way. Either it's parents' conference, or how to read to your children, or even if it's using the computer, how to look for websites the children can use. There's a intergenerational aspect in every single one. I think what makes this program unique, or one very important aspect of it, is the sense of community. There's a really, really strong sense of community here, and a lot of people come for that support. Our learners are very supportive of one another, their children, so in a way it's a very relaxed atmosphere. It's like our own little community.